The room was drenched in darkness, the kind that pressed against the walls and sank into the skin. Vine lay awake on the bed, eyes fixed on the ceiling she couldn't see, fingers curled slightly onto the blanket. The name echoed in her mind like a wound that refused to close. He had gone for a mission. No details, no reassurances. Just his cold voice, his sharp gaze, and the quiet authority that never allowed questions. She knew those steps the way prey knows its predator. The rhythm, the weight, the certainty. Jungkook. Her heart began to race as she shut her eyes at once, forcing her breathing to even out, pretending to sleep. She felt his presence before she heard him, commanding, suffocating, and real. Jungkook moved closer, his boots stopping beside the bed. He didn't speak. He never did when he thought she was asleep. Jungkook watched her for a long moment, his dark gaze tracing the soft lines of her face. In the dim light spilling through the curtains, she looked fragile. Too fragile for his world, too gentle for a man like him. His hand rose slowly. "You're asleep," he muttered under his breath, voice low, worn, a lie he wanted to believe. He leaned closer, his warmth surrounding her, his scent, leather, smoke, and blood washed away by rain, filling her senses. A kiss full of something he never allowed himself to show when she was awake. Longing and regret. Vine's chest ached as she observed every second of it, every stolen affection he thought she'd never know. After a moment, Jungkook straightened. Only then Vine did open her eyes. The darkness stared back at her, but her cheeks still burned where his lips had been. She lifted her finger slowly, touching the spot, heart twisting painfully. "Why do you only love me when I can't see it?" The sound of running water from the bathroom blurred into the memories Vine tried so hard to bury. She squeezed her eyes shut again, but the past crept in anyway, heavy and unavoidable. Vine remembered standing frozen near the bed, her fingers trembling as machines beeped around her father. Tubes snaked out of his body, white sheets stained faintly red beneath him. 8 bullets, 8 warnings. "Don't cry, princess," he had whispered, lifting his trembling hands to wipe her tears. Even then, even while dying, he had smiled at her like she was the softest thing in his brutal world. He had raised her alone after her mother died giving birth. Jungkook had stood on the other side of the room, tall, silent, dressed in black like death himself. Vine remembered how the air seemed to shift when he was there, how the guards straightened, how even doctors lowered their voices. Jungkook, her father had rasped, voice breaking for the first time Vine had ever heard. Jungkook stepped forward immediately. He didn't flinch at the blood, didn't look away from the broken body on the bed. He knelt down. Vine had sobbed then, quietly, powerlessly. Her father turned his head to look at her, his gaze softening painfully. "I raised her gently," he whispered. "She doesn't belong in this hell. She'll be safest as my wife," Jungkook said finally, voice low, unwavering, not a promise of love, a statement of strategy. The marriage happened fast, too fast. Black cars, armed guards, no smiles, no laughter. Vine barely remembered the vows, only Jungkook's presence beside her, cold control. He never touched her unnecessarily. No one spoke to her without permission. No one looked at her for too long. No one come near the mansion without being vetted or eliminated. She lived surrounded by luxury and terror. In the present, Vine lay still as the bathroom door opened. Jungkook stepped out, hair damp, sleeves rolled up, tattoos dark against his skin. His face was back to stone, cold, unreadable and dangerous. He glanced at her, still sleeping. Morning crept into the mansion slowly, pale light slipping through heavy curtains. Vian woke with a sharp inhale. The other side of the bed was empty. Her finger trembled around the sheets. She sat up slowly, memories of last night brushing against her skin like a phantom touches. His fingers on her cheek, his lips against her face, the tenderness he never showed her awake. Voices reached her ears before she entered the living room. A low, calm male voice, Jungkook's. She stopped at the last step. He was sitting on the couch, laptop open on the table in front of him. Foreign men filling the laptop screen. Their accents were unfamiliar, their expressions cautious. Shipment will be delayed, Jungkook said in fluent English, voice cold and precise. If there's a problem, we end the deal. Vian hadn't realized she was staring until her heart began to ache. He looked terrifying and beautiful. Her mind betrayed her, drifting back to the way those same lips had kissed her cheek last night. Soft, almost reverent. The old lady stood there, smiling warmly, grey hair tied neatly, eyes kind and sharp at the same time. She was the caretaker of the house, the only woman Jungkook had ever hired for Vian, the only one allowed close. She felt it before she saw him. Jungkook had stood up. He walked towards them, barefoot on marble, presence heavy enough to make the room feel smaller. The caretaker stepped aside instinctively, nodding at him with respect as well as love. "You're up early," he said. His voice was calm. Vian nodded slightly, fingers curling into the fabric of her sleeves. Yes, he noticed everything. Jungkook studied her for a moment longer, then turned his head slightly towards the caretaker. "Make what she wants, Yoma," he said quietly. Then his attention returned to Vian. "If you need anything," he added, "you tell her." By noon, the mansion had settled into its usual silence. Sunlight filtered lazily through the tall windows of the bedroom, falling in soft patterns over the bed. Vian lay comfortably on her side. Jungkook stood near the door, watching her quietly. He didn't interrupt, didn't announce himself. He leaned back against the wall for a moment, arms crossed, eyes tracing the way her brows furrowed in concentration. "Your lines are steady," he said suddenly. Vian startled violently. The pencil slipped from her fingers as she gasped, sitting up straight in an instant. Her heart raced as she looked around and found him there sitting. "It's good," he said simply. "You draw well." The compliment felt unfamiliar and heavy. "Thank you," she murmured, eyes lowered. A pause settled between them. Jungkook spoke again, voice back to its usual cold tone. The backyard garden opened into sunlight and greenery, neatly maintained but quiet, protected like everything else in his life. A mat lay spread out under the shade of a tree. "How long have you been drawing?" he asked, staring up at the sky. "Since before," she replied softly. "My father used to bring me books." "The house is quiet during the day," Jungkook said. "You don't need to be afraid here," he said flatly. Vian nodded. "I know," but her body said otherwise. The silence in the garden stretched, heavy but not uncomfortable. Then Jungkook shifted. He sat up suddenly, the movement sharp enough to make Vian tense. Before she could react, his hand reached out and gently he took the sketchbook. Her breath caught. Before she could say anything, hurried footsteps approached from behind. Boss, one of the guards said, stopping a few steps away. We need to inform you about. Jungkook's grip tightened. No. A single word froze everyone. Wyan looked at him startled. The guard stiffened, but Jungkook didn't look away from her. Leave, he said to the guard. What are you scared of? He asked quietly. The question felt heavier than any command. Wyan swallowed. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. Her voice flattered. You. Her eyes flickered up to him, but he continued, voice rougher now. I'm here for you. If you want me to understand you, you have to talk to me. Something shifted inside her chest. He spoke quietly, telling her about the places far away, about danger and silence and decision that haunted him. She listened, really listened. He stirred slightly. Her hand flew back to her lap instantly, heart racing. She reached for her sketchbook instead. Wyan was asleep. Her hand leaned against the tree behind her, lashes resting on her cheeks, lips slightly parted. She looked peaceful. He sat up slowly, careful not to wake her. His fingers lifted the sketchbook and his brows furrowed. What is this? He muttered. Her breath hissed sharply. I can explain. Jungkook turned the book towards her. My nose, he said calmly, dangerously. Does it look like a rabbit's to you? Before she could answer, he tapped the page again, and these, he pointed at his eyebrows, drawn a little too expressive, a little playful too. He closed the sketchbook and stood, holding it under his arm. Then he extended his hand towards her. Come, he said. Wyan looked at his hand, and she hesitated. Night settled over the mansion like a heavy blanket. The living room glowed dimly under the warm lights. Jungkook stood near the window, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and sharp. I'll be leaving early tomorrow, he said calmly. Wyan's hand stilled. An immediate mention. He continued, it won't take long, but it's risky. Later that night, the lights were turned off. They lay on opposite sides of the bed, the distance between them small but heavy. Wyan stared into the darkness. Then he shifted, propping himself up on one arm, turning fully towards her. In the faint light, his eyes searched her face. There's always a chance, he said honestly. Her lips pressed together, fear flickering openly now. I'll be careful, he added after a pause. Morning light flickered through the glass walls, pale and cold. Wyan woke to the sound of low voices. Her eyes opened slowly and found him. She stayed still watching. This version of him felt distant, like he already belonged somewhere else. He ended the call and turned around. His eyes found her immediately. You're awake? If I'm not here, he continued, you don't go out without guards, not even the garden. Only if it's necessary. I won't take chances with your safety. She nodded. Her breath caught as he walked back to her, lowering himself until he was close. Her heart began to race, cheeks warming instantly. She knew, she felt it. Then he straightened, turned, and walked out without another word. The door closed. Vine sat frozen on the bed,